This is To Help You Heal, and I'm your host, Marie Monville. We are going to spend 10 minutes talking about healing. What kind of healing do you need? Is it in your mindset? Is it emotional healing? Is it spiritual healing? You know, there's a lot of healing that we all need, and this is where you're going to find it every week, 10 minutes on Tuesday. I'm so glad you're spending this time with me. Welcome back to another episode of To Help You Heal. Last week, I put a poll out on social media. I asked for you to rank some things that I've heard women struggling with lately because I think these are topics that are relevant to a lot of us. And I wanted to talk about whichever one seemed to be, resonating the most consistently. And so here we are this week. We're going to talk about why it's hard sometimes to believe that there is good out there for us. We can believe in it for other people, but I think sometimes it's hard to look at our own experiences, look at the year ahead, maybe even the week ahead, and be able to say, you know what, there's good here for me. And the reality is that sometimes it happens because we have embraced a season where it's just one hard thing after another. Or maybe you look back over the last decade or two of your life and say, it's just been one hard thing after another. And so after a while, we sort of get conditioned to think that it's just going to be one more hard thing after another. So let's talk about that this week. Let's talk about why our brain does that to us and what we can do instead. So, when we think about this from the standpoint of just understanding our brain, how our brain is wired, why we think this way, because if this happens to you and you're thinking, what's my problem? What is wrong with me? Why do I keep doing this? It's actually something that your brain is sort of wired to do. We all have this mechanism. Our brain it wants to keep us safe. It likes to go into safety mode. It's wired for survival, not necessarily optimism. It's not that we can't train our brains to be optimistic. And for those of us who would say, I'm reasonably optimistic, it's generally a practiced mindset. It's something that we have cultivated or developed or has been influenced maybe by people around us. It's not necessarily something that just exists from birth. It's something that we have to define and repeat. And when we go through hardships, especially when we're in those times where it feels like it's one after another, sometimes it's as if our brain is seeing the struggle as normal and these spaces of safety or goodness as something that we need to be suspicious of. Sort of like we have this muscle memory for difficulty. I mean, you think about the concept of muscle memory, how our muscles, when we use them repetitively, whether you're working out or just doing routine household tasks, we develop this muscle memory. Our muscles know what to do. And so it's as if our brain kind of gets in this space where it's saying, okay, the struggle is normal. And times when there isn't a struggle or when there seems to have the potential of something good, that's when I should be suspicious because this is unfamiliar to me or it might feel unsafe. So when we think about it just from the standpoint of how our brains work, we have to understand that it's not just that we have this bad attitude or that we are being really negative about our lives in general. Our brain wants to keep us safe, and it comes into this space where we are saying the struggle is normal. Anything that seems good or even just safe now feels suspicious, and we get suspicious about it. Maybe that resonates with you. If you've been in a season where you feel like, yeah, I have sort of aligned myself to this place of saying the struggle is my normal now and I feel suspicious of good. Have you ever heard somebody say, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop? That would be one of those phrases that would be common if we're in that space of saying, I'm suspicious of the good. That belief that there has to be something bad on the backside of it. Another reason that we do this is confirmation bias. If you're not familiar with that term, it simply means that we are looking at our experiences, we're looking at the day to day, and we are finding reasons to verify or to justify something to support a belief that we already have. So we're taking the new evidence that we see in our world and saying, yes, this is the confirmation of this belief or this thought that I already had. It's as if our brain is looking for that evidence, maybe saying to ourselves, life is unpredictable, things just don't work out for me, those kind of statements. So if you try to say to yourself, you know what? This year's going to be different. This is going to be my year. Then it's as if your brain kind of responds and says, based on what? It gets a little bit cynical with you. It reminds you of these other places where life has felt like it hasn't worked out. We all deal with that. It's confirmation bias. If you look up that term online, you're going to see a lot of, writing and people talking about that, and maybe, it's going to help you to understand it's not just this thing that you're doing to yourself. There's an actual reason why. I think it's also about this place of our fear of disappointment, because sometimes it's easier to expect that nothing good is going to happen than to hope that it will and be let down when you face this place of hardship. People who've experienced deep pain, we often become really emotionally cautious. We're cautious of investing ourselves in the belief that something great or wonderful is going to happen. It's difficult to invest ourselves in this place of hope because it feels dangerous to us. It feels unsafe because it means that we are risking potential heartbreak if life doesn't go that way. And if that's true for us, I think we have to be able to look at why. What are maybe some places of wounds that we have? What are some places where we need more healing in our life so that we can believe that there's good for us? If the things I'm talking about are really resonating with you and you're thinking, "Yes, I've thought that. Yes, I have that on repeat." I want to encourage you to think about why. Why are those thoughts there? Why do they resonate so much with you? Where is that coming from? Where maybe do you need a little bit greater level of healing in your life or in the way that you approach your story? Because I get it. I understand. I've gone through a lot of really difficult things. If you know the background context for my story, you know that my first husband was the man that committed the Amish schoolhouse shooting. But to be truthful, that's not the only hard place that I've walked. Prior to that, I had lost my first daughter at 26 weeks of pregnancy, lost a second pregnancy. It was an ectopic pregnancy. In the time after losing my first husband, I lost my grandparents who I was really close to. I lost my father to cancer. There's been a lot of loss in my life. And so it's easy for me to find myself in these spaces of saying, it's dangerous to hope. It's a hard place to hope and believe that there are these good things that are going to happen because I've experienced so many bad things. So as I'm talking through this with you today, I want you to understand it comes from a really personal place. I get it. And it's a place that I've walked myself through, but I know that there is the opportunity to come out on the other side because I've done that. And I know that in the seasons of my life where I've faced those fears and I've had those thoughts of I'm not sure that this is going to be a good year, or I don't think good things happen for me, whatever it is, or even to say I don't want to believe in something good because it's just going to lead me to disappointment. I've had to redirect my perspective. And because I've done it in my life and I've seen the positive way that that has impacted me and the way that it's opened me up to, living life from a different lens, I know that you can do it too. And so here's how we're going to do that. We're going to start small. You don't have to go after the belief that this entire year is going to be amazing. But what if you just said to yourself, there's going to be one thing that's good that happens this week, or one good thing that happens this month? Could you even say, there's going to be something good that happens today? Just looking for that evidence, collecting evidence over time, focusing on those small wins. That's going to help to shift that perspective from our confirmation bias, looking for things that line up with all the reasons why we think nothing good is going to happen. It's going to change that. It's going to help our brain to build a different story. And you know what? If you are struggling with believing that for yourself, I want to ask you to borrow some belief. Find some people who can rally around you. Surround yourself with voices that remind you that there is good and there's joy, there's healing possible. So that you can change your inner narrative. When your mind is whispering things like, nothing good ever happens to you, be able to say, you know what? Something beautiful is coming. It's right around the corner. And I'm not asking you to fake that high level of toxic positivity, but simply allowing the possibility of something good to happen can help loosen the grip of doubt that can sometimes be so strong in our minds. And lastly, sometimes it's really hard to just receive the goodness that comes our way, especially if it's not something that we felt like we had direct control over. Sometimes we resist goodness because we're so used to doing everything ourselves. And so if someone gives you a compliment or they want to help you with something, they're kind to you, they give you a gift, sometimes it can feel uncomfortable, but I'm going to ask you to just let the goodness land. Isn't that a great phrase? Let the goodness land. Let that compliment land. Just say thank you. Receive their help. Take their kindness. Just accept it. These things are going to help you shift from that place of thinking, you know what, nothing good is going to happen to me, or I don't want to believe that something good is going to happen because then something bad always happens anyway. It's going to shift those narratives. If you could use some help, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yes, I want to change, I want to be able to start small, I need somebody in my life that's going to help me believe that this joy is possible for me, to change my narrative, help me to live in a way that I can let goodness land, reach out to me. I would love to chat with you, see where you're at right now, see if we would be a good match, see how I can help you. You can find out more, of course, at mariemonville.com or send me a message through any social media platform. You don't have to do this alone, and you deserve to have an incredible year. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope you'll come back next week and share this with your friends.